fully operational 49ers offense, Scott. Very impressive, even against a defense that has had a lot of trouble. They played well in the first half, couldn't hold on in the second.
Yeah, and again, what I really appreciate in this game with the 49ers and their offense, they've got a young quarterback in his first playoff game ever. He could be in a situation where he is becoming impatient, right? Because his first half really wasn't that good. He looked a little bit frustrated. He looked a little bit overexcited. Some of his accuracy was off. So you come into the second half, I'm sure Kyle calmed him down and said, hey, listen, let's just go out there and play. It's a close game. Play well in the second half. Come to the second half, we saw a much better Brock Purdy at the quarterback. He was more accurate. He was moving more. He actually looked more accurate when he was on the run and on the move. And sometimes players will do that when they start to feel more comfortable. As odd as that sounds, he got himself on the move. And really a terrific game by Brock Purdy, particularly because of his patience and really Kyle Shanahan's patience with him as well.
Yeah, the second rookie in the Super Bowl era with a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown in a playoff game, joining, oddly enough, Russell Wilson, who did it back in 2012 against Atlanta. A performance from Brock Purdy building up towards an offseason where the 49ers are going to have to make a decision, perhaps, or not. Good problem to have, Scott, because they're winning with their rookie, Mr. Irrelevant, who actually came by. He came to the NFL Network studios, did Total Access with us after he was Mr. Irrelevant. He had the trophy and everything, and you could tell the look on his face. Yeah, I'll do this. I'll celebrate this now, but I'm going to try to eventually become a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he's done that, and not necessarily looking like a rookie in some of these spots, Scott.
Yeah, and it's a real good problem to have, as you mentioned, for the 49ers, because you're always in a better situation when you have a starting quarterback that is on a rookie contract. So he has a rookie contract that he's going to be on at a very manageable number towards the future. Then perhaps they can make the decisions with two other starting quarterbacks they have in Trey Lance and Jimmy G. So really, the reality is the San Francisco 49ers have three starting quarterbacks on their roster, one at a very high price, one at a relatively high price for a first-round pick, and Brock Purdy, who's in pretty good situation.
Yeah, we talked about the embarrassment of riches they have on the offensive side of the ball. Steve Weish with one of the best defenders in the entire NFL, Fred Warner, after the game in Santa Clara.
Fred, the score may not reflect it, but you had to earn this one here. Real tough first half. What changed for you in the second half?
Yeah, that's the playoffs. It's never going to be easy. You know, at half, we knew we made some mistakes there at the end of the second quarter, but I told the defense it was going to be on us. You know, offensively, they were doing a heck of a job all the way through, and defensively, we knew we had to take the ball away. We had to play our style, you know, and that turnover we had down here in the red zone was huge for us.
And what about that? Because the offense comes down, gets the big drive coming out of halftime, you get the takeaway, and then the snowball started rolling downhill.
Complimentary football at its finest right there. You know, I mean, I can't say enough about Purdy. The way he's playing, taking care of the football is huge for us. That's when the score obviously turns into what it is, and then defensively just continuing to be us and hold teams to nothing. You know, a big-time win.
You talk about Purdy. First half looked like he actually was a rookie at times, and then the second half he could not have been better. What about having him lead you the rest of the way?
You know, he's the reason why we have a chance at the whole thing, you know, and the way that he's come in and the poise, the confidence, his performance week in and week out is amazing. You know, and we need him to play big in the second half. That's when it counts. You know, it's going to be tough all the way through, but how are you going to perform in the tough moments? And we got to just keep supporting him.
For you to say he is the reason you could go all the way as big, seeing all the playmakers on this team, you guys have that much confidence in him.
Yeah, I mean, as a rookie, you can't talk enough about the way he's come in and play. I'd never seen it before in my whole life. I don't know if anybody's played like this. You know, coming in late in the season and I can't. You know, I think he's the one that people should be talking about. Forget everything else. Like he's the guy right now. So we didn't need to take it one at a time like we always do, and play team football.
All right, Fred. Well, congratulations. You got one more.
One more. One at a time.
So no deflecting away from the rookie quarterback, Scott. Fred Warner says, hey, Brock Purdy's the reason that we are here. One of the best defenders in the league, looking across, feeling pretty good about that offense. What were your thoughts on what Fred had to say after the game?
Well, he certainly knows how to make the rookie feel good and make him feel confident. Whether or not he truly believes that, it's good for him to be saying those things publicly. But I don't disagree a whole lot with what Fred's saying. You really look at what he has done in the circumstance, in the situation, because really when you're the number 3 quarterback, as you're coming into it, you're just trying to develop. You're just trying to get to meetings on time, right? You want to get to treatment on time. He had to pick this up pretty quick. And I don't disagree with anything that he was saying about him. But again, it's a terrific story. And what's going to happen, though, is each week, in certain ways, it's going to get easier for him, but in other ways, it's going to get tougher for him because he's going to be a different kind of scrutiny that he's going to be under and a different kind of attention that he's under than he had in college. But I'll say this. One of the most important things that could be happening for a player like Purdy, and I've seen some good young quarterbacks develop, and what they do, and Kyle Shanahan, I know, is doing is he's protecting his quarterback. And I don't mean physically on the field. He's making sure that he's doing all the right things off the field, making sure there's not too much attention, making sure he's not getting distracted. So to me, the best thing that could be happening to Brock Purdy is playing for Kyle Shanahan right now.
Yeah, certainly the offense putting him in position to be successful, which is what you'd want out of an offense and a play caller. But the defense, Scott, really showed how they could perform. That takes a lot of pressure. We just saw Fred Warner there. I was thinking back to a play in the first half where Kenneth Walker had an 8-yard gain on first down. Looked like he was going to go a little bit more. I looked it up on Next Gen Stats. Fred Warner hit 18.9 miles per hour to get to the sideline and keep that from a first down. Eventually, Seattle had to punt. Guys like Charles Omenihu making a play on a draw in the first half that Gino thought was going to be. I mean, this defense does so much, Scott.
Yeah, they really do. And D'Amico Ryans, he's got good players, but he puts them in the right situation, too. As we saw some of the adjustments that they made at halftime, I really thought the defense was playing better and more physical in the second half.
Game Day Highlights presented by Pepsi Zero Sugar. Right back after this. Hey everybody, welcome to Game Day Highlights presented by Pepsi Zero Sugar. I'm Patrick Claybon. The 49ers taking care of business against the Seattle Seahawks. What a performance from Brock Purdy. Welcome into the NFL Network newsroom here on Super Wildcard Weekend. And speaking of Super, we got a guy with 3 Lombardi trophies just outside of the picture joining us. Scott Pioli, welcome in. Former NFL Executive of the Year, winning those Patriots Super Bowls. Scott, quite the performance from Kyle Shanahan and his offense here against Seattle.
Patrick, you just mentioned Kyle Shanahan. That's the guy who I give so much of the credit to right now because I tell you, he's doing an incredible job with Brock Purdy. As you mentioned, Brock Purdy's having a terrific game, but really that first half was a little bit shaky for Brock, but he settled in, got things going. Kyle changed up some of the play calling, short, sideways, got the ball down the field, that opening drive in the second half, and really since then, it's been all 49ers.
Yeah, an example of how thin, Scott, the margins can be, not just in the NFL, but in the playoffs, because Seattle had gone the entire game without a penalty. Charles Cross has a false start. Then there's the ineligible man downfield. All of a sudden, here comes a very talented 49ers team that you have to play perfectly against, and Seattle just couldn't keep it up.
Well, you have to play perfect against the 49ers, and when you're a team like the Seattle Seahawks who are rebuilding and aren't really that talented, right? They don't have that much dynamic ability on their football team. You've got to play clean football. And as you mentioned, those 2 penalties were the first 2 penalties. They happened in the opening offensive drive of the third quarter for the Seattle Seahawks. They were down to the 19-yard line of the San Francisco 49ers, and it puts them in a 3rd and 14 situation, and that's when the strip sack happens. Once the strip sack happened, it was all downhill. That was the first turnover of the game, first 2 penalties of the game, and again, the key to clean football, the key to winning games against the 49ers is clean football. You know, Patrick, one of the other things we know about the 49ers this year, they were the best in the entire National Football League in terms of taking the ball away. The game changed once they were able to take the ball away, and in the regular season this year, the San Francisco 49ers were 13-0 when they led in takeaways over the course of a game.
Yeah, tough for a Seattle team that had problems on defense stopping the run. In terms of yards after contact, this Seahawks defense had given up over 440 more yards than the 49ers had given up plain rushing yards all season, and it really showed, especially in the second half. Christian McCaffrey with a dominant performance, as well as this 49ers offensive line as well.
Yeah, and again, Deebo Samuel as well. Two players, Christian McCaffrey, even though he's a relatively smaller looking player, he does well with yards after contact, as does Deebo Samuel, as does George Kittle. So again, great point by you, Patrick, and yes, that showed itself in the second half even more so.
And we'll have a chance to get to the highlights and, of course, look ahead for the 49ers in their next matchup, depending on how things shake out over the rest of the weekend, Scott. But as a personnel guy, looking at the back end of this Seahawks defense, where do you start with the offseason in terms of what they need? Because the talent disparity between 49ers skill players in a lot of defenses is there, but especially a divisional opponent that you're going to want to need to get the right personnel for.
Yeah, and the key to the personnel on defense has always been who the players are. Pete Carroll has done more with players that other teams don't necessarily like, and that's one of the things I love about the Seattle Seahawks team and their organization is that John Schneider and Pete Carroll are totally on the same page. John knows exactly what to look for when he's trying to find players for Pete. You know, you look at how this organization is. There are some things they need to do to get better, but here's the good news. They've got a couple extra draft picks this year, including number 5 overall from the trade of Russell Wilson to Denver. So they're sitting in a good place right now, I think, Patrick.
Yeah, the continuity is there in the front office, the coaching staff in Seattle.